Run with Chestnut. Welcome to the Run with Chestnut podcast. This is episode number 20. We are in a whole new decimal number scheme, Simon, Melissa.
Yes, we
Hello.
are.
Yes.
How are we going?
Hello.
My buddies. Anyway, yes, we are in an entire new decade. If this were years, we'd be in the 20s.
Yeah.
Our raging 20s. We
Great
just graduated
time.
from college, or we're about to like explore, spread our wings, and fly. All these amazing things. I'm amazed we are still actually in existence. Pretty cool.
Oh, come on, give us some credit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or is this about
What?
Well, or is this about me and my buttery habits?
Okay. Segue. I see. Okay. Before we get started with today's episode, Melissa has some breaking news for us about the best way to do butter
Yes, I was trying to
when it comes
explain
to
this
popcorn. Yes, go ahead.
to Simon, and then Francesco thought it would be more kind to explain this to everybody. So hence, apparently, well, okay. First, a little animated rant about microwaves in Montenegro. They don't exist. More specifically, they do exist, but people don't tend to buy them, and it's not really an economical thing either. Even if you can afford one, it's just not in the culture to own one, really. Same with double-sided fridges, which is really upsetting. But anyway,
Oh, wow.
So this means, everything's small. The sinks are small. It's annoying. And so that means no buttered popcorn, which is horrible. Absolutely travesty.
Wait, what do you mean? Why not no buttered popcorn?
Because you don't make buttered
Why don't you
popcorn.
just melt butter in a pot or something?
That's what I do.
That's
but then
where I
she's
was
right.
headed. Come on. So obviously that is what I had to resort to, but that's the apparent. Well, I Googled it, and it turns out that you don't just put the butter in as you make the popcorn, which is what I would have thought you do. So if there's anyone else, that's not what you do. You make it with oil, and then you're supposed to melt the butter separately and pour it on top when it's done. But in my experience, every time I've did that, they ended up soggy, and then I was sad, and it just wasn't the same as movie theater popcorn. Also, in movie theaters here, they don't do it. It's just not a thing. I guess it's an American thing, popcorn.
If you wanted movie theater popcorn, you should just sprinkled some plastic and stuff on top of your melted butter, and then put it on your popcorn.
Listen,
Maybe pour some motor oil in there.
I'm not gonna think about what's in it. I'm just gonna eat it. That's how I'm operating, and that's how I'm going to keep operating.
As a frequent goer of Chipotle, I agree. Go continue.
Okay, yes. So as I was saying, I don't want my butter popcorn soggy. I want it nice and buttery and salty and delicious. So to do that, I found out that you have to make ghee butter or clarified butter. And apparently the way you do that is you buy a bunch of butter. I had 700 grams. I'm being European right now. Forgive me. Anybody who knows conversions, feel free to chip in. If you don't, well, I cannot help you.
Let's use the wonder of modern technology. 700 grams, huh? 700 grams?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Alexa, what's 700 grams in ounces?
No. Oh, yes.
No, cups or,
25 ounces.
But is that fluid ounces or solid ounces? Because I learned those were different when I was baking.
Okay. Alexa, how many fluid ounces is 700 grams?
No, wait, maybe that's wrong. No, you were right.
And now she just said, thanks for telling me.
No, I think you're right, because grams are not fluid. Anyway.
It's Alexa, stop.
Oh, no.
You see, when you call on her and then those things happen. Okay, Melissa,
Maybe
continue.
she was on a date. Relax.
Actually, a guy started to, I don't know, some male voice started coming out of the speaker, so I don't actually know.
I just want to finish my butter story.
Continue your story, yes.
So, you take the butter and you boil it. First, you boil it really hard, on a high temperature. And
How
then
do you boil something really hard? Unless it's an egg that you're
you
hard
mean
boiling.
take the butter and put it on high heat, boil it on high
Yes.
heat?
No, I know what she means, Simon.
my
I know.
English is dying.
Okay, continue. Boil something really hard.
Yes, and then boil it soft by turning down the heat.
Yes.
Actually, I think that does make sense because it's still technically, the bubbles are still technically coming out and stuff on low heat, but it's not burning. So yes, I'm gonna soft boil my butter for like 20 minutes, and in that time, there's a foam that forms on top, and you're supposed to scrape it off.
So how long do you hard boil? Like, how long do you keep it on high heat for?
I actually forgot. Maybe like not really long. Maybe like 5 minutes or so, because butter melts really fast.
Okay.
But I can find exact details later if you're curious. But it's very little, because it starts making noises. It starts protesting at the fact that it's being boiled. And so then you soft boil it, and then bubbles come out, and then you have to scrape them off the top. And you're not supposed to stir the butter while it's cooking, because you don't want to disturb the bubbles. Just, let the bubbles do their thing. Then you scrape it off, and then you wait a little more, like another 20 minutes. Oh yeah, 20 minutes for the low boil. And then scrape it off, another 15, scrape it off again. And then you strain it, and you put it through I guess strain it with a gauze. Is that what you call it? My English is leaving me, I swear. And then you leave it to harden, and then you have yellow butter, very yellow butter, and it does not make your popcorn soggy.
Sounds like a lot of work.
And
you can buy ghee, right?
Where you are, you might be able to.
Okay, I'm just saying.
Wait, ghee butter? You can actually buy that? Or
Yeah.
Oh.
Well,
So then you can just use that for a movie theater popcorn.
If you're lazy and
Yep.
you don't want to go to the store, you just happen to have some butter, then just boil it. It was really interesting, because the foam part that was on the top, I actually tried it, and it was like kind of milky but also kind of buttery, but then just consistency of like hummus or something. And actually the ghee butter also felt like hummus or peanut butter, something a little more raspy or whatever the texture is than smooth butter. And so yes, did that, and now I have butter. So that made me happy, and I have a whole jar, and I can make butter popcorn and eat unhealthy food as much as I want. So yay.
Well, technically,
That's pretty cool.
butter is not bad for you, actually. I mean, the movie theater popcorn is bad because they put a bunch of other things in it. But if you just use salted butter.
So, okay, cool. So I'm now feeling more justified.
Yeah, and if you use like popcorn that's just regular kernels and nothing added, then it's pretty good.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Simon. Yay.
Yep.
That makes me really happy. I'm not going to fear for my life at age 59.
Age 59.
It's my age. I have to live to that age.
Clearly, you've been reading too many retirement brokerage account articles. You're talking about 59.
No.
Simon, you like popcorn, right?
I do. In fact, I ate a lot in college.
I ate a lot of different things in college. Popcorn was not one of them.
What did you eat in college?
Well, it was a replacement for
a
me.
lot of things that were not popcorn.
It was a replacement for me because I loved potato chips as a kid, and that would be like my favorite snacks, Doritos, potato. And then I started changing the way I eat. And so I said, what kind of...
You said
No, I said, I said, what snack do I like that I can make and I could make on my own, could be pretty healthy? And I said popcorn. So that's what I started doing.
Simon, it tickles me to like imagine you in the store, like having a conversation with yourself. Just be like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get this instead, but an actual conversation with yourself. Because I can picture you doing that.
I actually don't do that.
That's how
I
you're
plan
picking
ahead of time.
Yeah.
Why don't you have a conversation with your popcorn? Like, hi, popcorn, would you like to be purchased by me and eaten?
I actually ordered my popcorn online, but yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, specialty popcorn. Exactly. Cool. I have two little tidbits before we start talking about, or before we start revealing our deepest fears in this world. One thing is a little comment on commercialism in this country. Basically,
Christmas.
You know how like the holiday season, holiday season's all about like commercial, buy all these things and presents, and you want to show people that you like them by buying them a whole bunch of stuff, right? So, if you remember, I think it was last year I bought a couple things, but in previous years, Amazon Prime Day was in July. Remember? And it was like a week or maybe like a day it was a day where a bunch of stuff on Amazon was deeply discounted, including a bunch of Amazon products like Echo speakers and things like that, right? It's called Amazon Prime Day. So this year they canceled it because of the pandemic, except it's actually happening in October, October, I think it was October 13th or 14th.
That's my birthday month.
There you go. Really, you're making a birthday month?
Or no, well, that's the month of my birthday. Whatever.
Yeah. Well, I know it. Yeah. Okay, Simon. Thank you for clarifying. Yes, October 13th and 14th is Amazon Prime Day or days, meaning a whole bunch of stuff on Amazon will be discounted. The interesting thing about this is just, first of all, like they felt the need to cancel it in July because of the pandemic, and the fact that they like chose to have it now in October is interesting because
the pandemic.
I guess either the pandemic is still happening or like the reasons why they canceled it in July no longer are valid reasons according to them now, right? If they're having it now. And second of all, they normally do that in July to boost sales in the summer because traditionally like sales are kind of low in the summer, and traditionally sales are pretty good leading up to the holidays. So they normally don't have to boost the sales in the holidays. So it's kind of interesting to think about like what they're doing, because the other sort of interesting thing is that Target is doing their own version of Prime Day on the exact same days, October 13th and 14th. I don't know what it's called, but I don't think it's called Target Day. But yeah, so like I wonder if like Walmart's going to, like now you're going to have Black Friday sales in November, you're going to have Christmas sales, and now you have whatever this is going to be, start calling in October, Simon's birthday month sales.
Gee.
Because apparently it's Simon's birthday month. So,
wow.
Yeah, just interesting stuff. I will say, as disparaging as I am coming off about this event, I will say that I will most likely take advantage of the day and buy a new Echo speaker because it just makes...
You have a Dot, right?
No, I have an older, like a much older generation Echo.
Is it not echoing?
Yeah, it echoes very well. So I use my Echo. I feel like most people, including me, when it first came out, it was kind of I was like, what am I going to do with it? Oh, great, I can talk with it. Well, right. I can do the same thing from my phone and just play with a Bluetooth speaker. Like we didn't get the point. But after we got it, or at least after I got it, I started using it for so many things. And the biggest thing I use it for is while I work out, I can just talk to it and tell it to play music, so I don't have to like pick up my phone and So I want to get the Echo. I think it's called the Echo Studio, which is basically the much like higher quality, more bass version of the Echo speaker. So it's like a like quote unquote studio version of the Echo speaker. Yep. So if they discount that by a good amount, I might pick that up and add that to the workout cave.
Nice.
You should get me a self-cleaning litter box. They don't
why don't you? So you texted me about this self-clean. So it might be on Prime Day. Self-cleaning litter box. That'll be. This is like our wish list. So my wish list is this Echo Studio. Yours is a self-cleaning litter box. First of all, how is it self-cleaning?
Okay.
Is it like a little miniature Roomba that just kind of like reaches inside?
No. Well, no. It has. So it looks like a space pod, or like a little egg or something. And it's usually a little bit elevated because underneath you have the little like tray, but inside there you put the litter, and apparently you have to put it exactly to the line that they say, otherwise it gets jammed, or at least certain models do. And then your kitty goes in, does what they need to do, and they step out. And I've seen reviews of multiple ones, and most of them have some kind of sensor, which is like, okay, 5 minutes after the cat leaves, it starts rotating, so it kind of has like a, not net, like if you've ever seen a litter scooper, it kind of like a wall with holes in it, so the litter falls through, but the other stuff doesn't. And so it kind of rotates, and it was even hard to see, but it just makes a whole scoop of all of the litter that's inside, and there's no way that it misses. And then all the stuff that is clean litter falls through, and all the stuff that is not stays on the like little shovel thing or whatever. Mm-hmm. And then it just rotates and like tosses it in the back where the pipe the thing that goes into the tray leads, and then you clean that out once a week or something. And they also have other ones where you can put in extra litter, and then you can totally forget about it for like a whole month or something, because it has extra litter in the back, and so it just switches out whenever it feels the need to. And it has really cool stuff, like it'll tell you if your cat's business is healthy. It'll tell you which cat came in. I don't know how it does that. It'll tell you how many times they went, what they did, like all of the details on your cat. And I guess that's really helpful if you go to the vet and there is an issue. Like that is the kind of stuff you want to know. So there.
How much are these devices?
I actually was about to Google them and then something distracted me. Actually, I found one that I liked that was a Kickstarter project, which I'm a little bit skeptical of because of some headphones I got. But I don't feel like they'd be in double digits. I feel like they'd be in triple digits.
See, that's pretty cool. But I love the idea of imagining the sensor like messing up somehow and just like starting to scoop while the cat's still in there. And the cat's like, it's like scooping the cat up. It's like, what is going on? I do not understand. You can see like the cat just like riding the scooper up and it's just like sitting perched on top of it, just trying to figure out what's going on.
Like a laundry machine or something. It has like it rotates.
Wow.
Or something, but no rotating kitties, bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's connected to Wi-Fi. Like your app tells you all the things. It sounded very, very detailed, and also, scooping poop is no fun, man. Like
no,
it is not fun. Nope. Simon, if you could choose one thing to get on Prime Day, what would it be? Like, what's your one wish list?
I was gonna say the Echoes too, but that's because I can't think of anything else.
Okay, that's good. You see, you're not like falling into this whole commercialism thing. Like, you don't need anything.
No.
Okay.
If you get a self-clean litter box, they'll take it off you. I don't know why you would.
There you go. It'll just be Simon with a self-cleaning litter box with no cat, just in his house, just in his room. That'll be interesting.
Yeah, but I mean, you're not falling into it either, I'm guessing, seeing as how you just want the Echo.
Say again?
You're not falling into the whole commercialism either, right?
Yeah, but if it wasn't for the day, I probably wouldn't spend the money and buy
me
it.
Neither.
So.
Me neither. Like right now, I'm using the XLR. It's called XLR X.
No. It's like an 1/8" jack, like a mini plug.
Right. I'm using that right now.
Though it is pretty tempting when they start with all the ads and all the like presents. And all the things.
But like
I know you scoff at it. No, it all totally makes sense. But I do have to say that it's very easy for I guess some people to just get into the like, I want my decorated house and all the people and all of the things and
Well, they do a really good job with influencer marketing now. Where they're like paying these people on YouTube and stuff to like model their living rooms with a bunch of stuff then off Amazon. But
I will say the benefit of getting the Echo Studio is that I wouldn't have to keep charging my JBL every time it dies. But
just keep it plugged in.
No, but
it's a speaker.
Oh, it will still work?
Yeah, of course.
Oh, okay.
I mean, mine did. I don't know why yours wouldn't. I think, try it. Just keep. I'll
have to find another adapter, but yeah,
it's just a
USB,
a micro
USB.
I
gotta find another one.
Last little tidbit that I want to ask you guys before we get started with this is Robo, or I shouldn't say Robo, is those ride-hailing services like Uber, Lyft, Curb, things like that. And see what you guys' experience is with it, because Uber is in the news this week because they just got relicensed to actually operate in London, which they were not able to for a while because London revoked their version of like the taxi limousine commission, which is what's here in New York, the TLC, right? Whatever London's version of that revoked Uber's ability to act as a taxi service in London because they claimed that it was not safe. Like people were able to hack the Uber thing and like take the driver's photo so that like the wrong people were able to pick up, basically like not safe things. Yeah. Pretty, weird. So, but they scored this license or this relicense, and that sort of sparks the conversation of like, for people who are blind specifically, what role do these sort of taxi services play? Like any taxi service that you don't actually have to like walk out in a street and wave your hand, which is how you normally hail a yellow cab in New York City, right? Like something you can call from your phone, and it'll show up at your door, aka like it's an accessible way to get transportation, right? It's a pretty big deal. I mean, I know for me, either in any city, right? So New York City, but also like when I travel. Simon, when we went to Vegas, Florida, we did this. When I went to like Colorado and parts of California, well, all over the place. Normally as a blind person, obviously it's great if there's public transport, but a lot of times there either is no public transport, or because you're new, you don't know about it or how to get there.
Yep.
So the ability to just plug in an address, from an accessibility standpoint, it's like huge.
Yeah.
Right. You want to like Melissa, what's your experience with
Well,
any of those?
actually, I'm an interesting person that you have here because I don't think I've ever used one. Actually, no, I used that one once and I was like super hesitant. I was like, oh man, I have to get the app just for this one thing. But I think actually I might have ended up being driven by people I knew after all. But point is, I have not used them very often. When it was either with other people very few times, or like maybe that one time. I don't remember if I ended up using it. No, I don't think I did. I think they drove me. So I've always been kind of skeptical, and I don't even feel really great being in a cab by myself. Maybe I'm just, from a small city, and I have been in cabs, but every time, and in New York specifically, big city, right? Like here, I think it's a little different, but I mean, anything could happen anywhere, but I still feel very nervous. Like, yes, they're accessible, but at the same time, how am I supposed to know that he's not driving me where I want to be driven? If he's driving a sighted person, they're like, wait, no, you're not going the right way. Like, stop. I can, call the police or do my SOS thing on my phone or something. But if I can't see, then I'm pretty much at the mercy of the person.
That's a very good point. So what I do is actually follow, and I do this less for safety. I mean, I guess it's a safety thing too, but I do it just because I want to know like how much longer it'll take. You can either follow like the map. Oh, yeah. So I just have like Apple Maps open, and it'll tell me like your location is, and it'll kind of show me where I am, and I can sort of see, because I know the city. So and another way is that within the Uber app itself, or at least the Lyft app, which I use Lyft more often than Uber just because the app is a little more accessible. It'll tell you how many more minutes you have until your destination. So, like, obviously, if the numbers are counting down, you're probably getting closer to your destination, so you're going the right way. And so, I mean, that's like a pretty decent way. Another way is like when you get paired with a driver, you get their name, their license plate, the description of the car. You get like their reviews, how many people has ridden with them in the past. So, like, you kind of get a little info on them, and you're supposed to verify. And obviously, it's hard to do, like, if you're blind, but normally you're supposed to say like, does the car match description? Is the license plate correct? And is the person's picture, does it match with the one in the app? So, and you see they have like 2,000 previous reviews, rides, or whatever it is. So, like I would feel better with that. Probably. Well, I don't know. I like the fact that there's a record of the ride, versus if you jump in a yellow cab, there is no record of the ride.
Nope, and it's really hard to contact whoever the...
Yeah, well, even if you're able to like step out on the street and hail it, there still is no record of it. You're just like an anonymous person. Versus like if you take it with one of these ride sharing ones, like it's logged. It's on your phone. You can send if you're in an Uber, you can send. There's a ability to share your ride status with a friend.
Yeah,
so they can follow your GPS signal and so like there's a lot of things built in.
Okay.
And the fact that they're like expanding, it's still, from a business standpoint, they're still not a profitable business, right? Like it's totally different when we're talking about it from a business standpoint, but from a service standpoint, I think it's like completely changed transportation. Just in the ability that now, like literally, I can fly to any airport, at least in the developed world. And from that airport, I can call myself an Uber and it'll take me anywhere I want to go. Hotel or something,
Does it make a difference?
As a blind person, it's intense. Go ahead.
I would I don't know why, but I would kind of think that them having like company cars would make me feel a little better because, right, like anybody, I feel like
anyone can sign up, but that's the whole selling point. Is that like, hey, you don't, this is not your full-time job. You can literally, if you're working a regular 9 to 5, job, but like if you want like a side gig, you can drive Lyft for 3 hours every evening, or for like Saturday and Sunday from 9 for during the day. Like there's no investment. You can just like take your normal car, you register with Uber, they do like a little I'm pretty sure they do like a little background check thing, and then they send you a little sticker, the Uber sticker that you like put in your window, and then now you're an Uber driver. So
okay, so
that's
I
also
guess
versus
they do
normally
try.
well, so maybe you don't know this, but like normally, for example, the yellow taxi thing in New York, to be a taxi driver, you have to buy this what's called a TLC medallion, and that medallion, I'm pretty sure, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that costs like $200,000 or more.
What?
And like a lot of taxi drivers are like go into debt to afford this medallion,
Why
which
do
is
you have to
basically
pay for
like
the
a
car
license.
yourself?
No, not the car. It's like a little. It's basically the license to be a yellow cab driver.
Why?
It's not the car, because they're trying. It's like supply and demand. So if they're the idea is if you limit the number of yellow cabs, and it's not like millions of them, so then like the value of being a yellow cab driver stays high or something. It's this completely arcane system, which is why I think Uber and Lyft completely took off, because there is no barrier to entry. You know.
But like.
That's ridiculous. Why would anyone choose to be a yellow cab driver then in that case?
Simon, yeah, well,
I mean, first of all, it's not necessarily always your choice, right? Sometimes you have to do it because that is what that is.
But I don't know.
And second of all, the point is, I mean, a lot of people take on $250,000 in student loan debt, and they do it because
that's true.
First of all, maybe they don't even think about it, but also you have these. I mean, it's all financed, right? So like this thing is financed. So whatever. It's not. It's a very flawed system, obviously, but something that is disrupting it is something like Uber or Lyft, or
True.
something that literally anyone can
what
just.
What about trains? Like you don't. Do you have to do the same thing if you're like a train? What are they called? Conductors or train?
No, because you're working for that company, for that train, for the railroad.
Why aren't like subways and stuff? Like why isn't cabs? I mean, I might be derailing the conversation.
I see what you did there. I'm now again, don't quote me because I'm not like an expert on this, but I'm pretty sure it's the reasoning is because as a taxi driver, you're not driving for a company. You're not earning a salary. You're earning. It's like you're like a contract. Like you make money based on your rides and tips and stuff.
No, that's bad.
Right? Like that's how it. Like taxi drivers don't get salaries.
This is how much I know.
Versus train conductors do get salaries. The train conductor doesn't get paid based on how many people ride on the train. So, yeah,
that's
I mean that's
awful. I'm sorry.
I feel bad for taxi drivers.
Well, I mean, yeah.
But then it's a system like that. So then either that or the Uber thing. But I would rather honestly just have a salary paid person in a company car driving me places is what ideally I would like. But yeah. I mean, life.
Okay, but you're not getting that unless you hire a personal driver. So.
Well, no, but that's what I'm saying. Like that. That's what cabs should turn into. I don't know. This contracting. Ridiculous.
Well, I mean, that's how they exist. So so California, like maybe a month or two ago, floated the idea of, I think they went past floating the idea. I'm pretty sure they signed legislation saying that past a certain date, all contract drivers of Uber would have to become employees, not contractors. And Uber, I don't know if they did or if they said that they were going to have to basically lay off every single one of their drivers in California because if someone's an employee, you have to give them benefits.
Yeah.
Right? You have to treat them as an employee with salary and all different things like that. If they're a contractor, then they're, it's a gig kind of economy, right? So a business model like Uber would not exist if all their drivers were employees. So you had all these drivers in California, up in arms, you can't do, whatever. I mean,
the world is a complicated place.
I mean, it's not. It's not complicated in the sense that it's hard to understand all these things. It's pretty simple concepts. It's just I think the getting back to the root of this conversation, ride sharing, which is what e-hail or not e-hail, but basically being able to call a rideshare service from your phone, whether it be a Lyft, an Uber, or a Curb, or anything like that, has dramatically changed transportation, right, for everyone, but specifically people with disabilities, both from a traveling at home perspective, but also traveling abroad, right? It's game changing, and I think it has forced the archaic. Basically the medallion system, right? The whole municipal taxi service, it's kind of forced them to revisit how they do business themselves because they're being disrupted by these new companies that are not necessarily good companies from a business standpoint, from an investment standpoint, but they're doing something disrupting what, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's just good stuff to think about. Any closing thoughts before we move on?
Nope.
Well, just it's hard to think about all of the sides. Like Simon was like, why would anybody want to be a cab driver? I was like, why aren't we just making everybody employees? You know, like I just want to put it out there that there's like a lot of different perspectives, and I don't know. I mean, obviously, but it just sometimes in my face how it's not as simple as just, oh, well, they should do this.
As wishing it so.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and it shouldn't be, right? Because there are a bunch of different perspectives to all of us.
Everybody's coming from different. No, it's great. It's not everybody always thinks about it. And I think if we did, you know, less conflict and all those good things. But
yeah, in the interest of thinking about things from different perspectives, very smooth segue here. Let's talk about fears, because in a way, fears are all about perspective and objectivity. And I don't mean fears like, hey, I'm afraid of a charging rhino. Like, if it's coming at you, you're probably going to be scared. I'm not talking about rational fears. I'm talking totally irrational fears. That might be grounded in truth, but it's like it's out of proportion to the amount that you probably should be fearing it. You know? So we all came up with a few fears or one fear. And let's just throw it all out there. Let's like discuss what we don't have to name all of them. Just let's say like what our biggest fear is, and then maybe just like talk about general ways that people can go about confronting their fears. Melissa, you want to go?
Oh boy, we're gonna get feelsy real deep.
I mean, and again, we like if the point of this is to progress, right? It's to like make improvement. So we don't have to like spend a whole bunch of time just talking about what our fears. I mean, we could just say what our fears are and then talk about how we'd face them.
Okay, sure.
So yeah, go. Yeah. What's your biggest fear, Melissa?
I am afraid, or my greatest fear is being alone. I don't like it. This includes not being needed, just not living with people in the future. I mean, I don't know what else. Isolation. Though
it's so funny.
Oddly,
go ahead.
Quarantine actually was not that bad, but it was worse when everybody else was doing things and I didn't have much to do besides classes. But then once we were all quarantining, I was like, oh, it's fine because we're all together, so it's different. But just isolation. I guess it was isolation when everybody was isolated, you know.
Yeah. It's funny, they'll do like studies on humans where they see the psychological effect of isolation on people. And this is obviously before pandemic. And it's like people just lose their minds. It's like insane how fast people just completely go off the deep end.
Well, isn't it a punishment
when they're isolated?
It is like in prison. Solitary confinement.
Solitary confinement, or even when you're a kid, right? Go to your room, isolation.
Right.
Yeah.
It's viewed as a punishment, and now everyone's kind of forced into it.
Although, in a way, yeah. I mean, they say that being on Zoom and stuff, you're not technically isolated, but I don't know.
I mean, you can be in a room full of people and still feel isolated, I think.
Right. And you could also be in a room all by yourself, and on a Zoom call with your best friends and still feel isolated.
Hello.
Right? So yeah. I'm definitely isolated from you guys, you dirty people over there. But that just like shows that there are different levels and elements to isolation, right? There's like emotional isolation, there's physical isolation, there's I think intellectual isolation.
Yeah.
Just the three off the top of my head. Or like, hey, spiritual isolation, that could be another one, say 4. And if you're, even if you have 3 of them.
Yeah.
Say again?
Just even opinion-based isolation.
Yeah. But so if you're isolated from all but one, I'm sorry, if you're not isolated, if you have access to all of them, but you're isolated from one of them, you could still feel like completely isolated. So it's not necessarily just looking at like, hey, yeah, I'm around people. That must mean I'm not isolated.
Right.
Well, it could still mean that you are. It's just not as obvious, right? Because you're surrounded by a bunch of people.
Yeah.
Or like now, maybe you have Zoom calls with their best friends every single day, but you can still feel isolated because you're not with physical. And I think it's all important, right?
Yeah.
So, okay, cool. That's your biggest fear. Simon, what's your biggest fear?
I honestly have 2 or 3. Mine is, so granted, this is a huge fear, but I still want to do it. Skydiving, jumping off an airplane.
Okay.
And then what are the other?
Completely unnatural experience, but go on.
Losing someone close to me.
Okay. Losing someone how?
Dying.
Okay.
And what was the other one? Oh,
I don't know. What was the other one you told me?
drowning.
Fear of forgetting things. Oh, drowning. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. You want to talk about a little bit about them?
Sure. What do you want to start with?
Anyone? What's your favorite one? Jumping out of plane, since you said it first.
All right,
why
fine.
not? What are you scared of?
That the parachute won't work and I fall and die.
Oh, interesting. So it's not the height. It's the fact that you'll have like equipment malfunction.
Yes.
So that's the fear.
So
of
are you?
death.
So if you're standing at the top of like a super high building,
Yes.
and like you stick your arm out, you can like feel the wind like blowing up from way down below. Are you scared?
I don't think so. No.
Oh, that's interesting because most people who are afraid of skydiving, they're afraid of heights.
Now,
They're not afraid of
what I would be scared of is if I went rock climbing and there's no harness around me and I would have to climb back down. And I'd be scared because like say you climb to the top, you're standing there, but then now I've never been rock climbing before. What I picture is like the amount of space that you have in front of you, like from where you're standing and where you could fall, is very small. So, like, to think about how high you are then, and knowing that if you make the wrong step accidentally, you could easily fall. And yeah, that scares me. Like, that part of the height scares me. But if I am, like you said, in a building and I'm, say, on like the 124th floor and I'm out on the balcony, no, that does not scare me because you can't really fall unless you...
What if there was no wall?
What do you mean?
Like you're standing at the edge and there's no wall stopping you. So if you took another step, you would fall off.
Yes.
But you're standing on solid, balcony.
Yes.
Are you?
Is there a step in front of me and behind me, or is there only a step in front of me? Because
behind you is the door of the balcony.
Okay, but like how far am I standing between the door and the step?
If you take a step forward, you are off the balcony in air. So are you scared? That's super interesting. Interesting to say about the rock climbing. So I think I told you guys when I went with Andrew last year to Colorado, we went on a little like bouldering expedition, which is basically, it's kind of like rock climbing, but whatever. Like we went up this massive boulder. We probably, I don't know, 50, 60, 80 feet in the air. I don't remember. But basically on the way up, it was fine because like the rocks are in front of us, right? So we can like, kind of scramble.
Right. And you guys didn't have a harness, right?
No, definitely not. And we were at the top and it was fine. We were like chilling for like 30 minutes, took pictures and things. And on the way down, it was like a whole other thing because when you go down, when you're blind, you cannot. So when you're going up as a blind person climbing a rock, you can feel the step or the ridge or something in front of you, right? So you feel it with your hands and that's how you know where to put your feet. When you're going down, your feet is what's leading you in front of you.
Scary.
So you can't actually touch the things with your hands because your hands are above your feet, right? Because you're upright. So there's no way for you to know where to put your feet unless you literally reach out with your foot and touch the different surfaces. So it's a lot harder going down than it is going up.
Terrifying.
For I think for most people, but especially for blind people. So going down, it definitely took longer. And there were a few times where it's like there's very, very clear drop. right next to wherever we were. And it's like, I mean, like most, like we weren't like in danger, but you know, if you take one step in the wrong direction or you misstep, you could potentially fall off a rock, you know. So
Yeah.
You could potentially die.
I don't know. You could potentially die.
Legitimately.
We went swimming with here. Okay, with another story. We went swimming with Lily in Montenegro, and how deep would you think it is, Melissa? Like 40 feet deep, 50 feet deep. It's a deep bay.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to swim out very far because like a lot of ships go there. So it's a kind of small bay as far as like shipping ports go, but it gets really deep very fast because a lot of ships go there. So how deep would you say? You said like 40?
I'd say it could get.
Yeah. Pretty deep. But we were only like maybe like a 45 second, like a minute, no less than that swim from the shore. Like if you're doing like a good freestyle. But we were swimming with our buddy Lily, who was on the Twilight episode. And I turned to Lily because she's not a very good swimmer, so she was grabbing onto my arm if I think so. And I was like, Lily, you know, right now you could legitimately die. And she did not appreciate that. She was like, thanks, buddy.
Yeah.
Oh, that was a good time.
The rock climbing thing sounds terrifying to me, actually.
Oh, it was super fun.
Yeah.
But see, like you would have done it, but you would have been scared because you had to do it because we were all going to leave you behind.
Yeah,
if you didn't do it.
I know.
So you had to do it from social pressure. Exactly.
Make friends with the bunnies.
Yeah, but then like a bear could have come and eaten
never
Simon
mind.
while we were on the top of the rock.
No.
It was like, I wonder where Simon went. We just see like a cane sticking off, like laying on the ground.
How far, like when you climb to the top of a rock, how far can you walk? Or like how
much room is there at
Yeah.
the top? It totally depends on the rock. I mean, this one that we went to, I don't remember the name of it. It's on Pikes Peak in Colorado, near Bar Camp, which is like the campsite halfway up Pikes Peak, the mountain. At the top, we could you could walk around. Like it's a decent size.
Huh.
Maybe like 20 feet by 30 feet, 40 feet,
Right.
20 by 40, something like that.
So,
I mean, a rock that high, it's gonna have a little bit of a space on the
so
top,
how do you hold on?
At the top? You just walk.
You walk, but
It's
when
flat.
you go down,
well, not
like
totally.
when you go down or up, how do you hold on?
Very, very carefully with lots of strength. I mean, it's not it's a rock, so it has a bunch of little cracks and little surfaces and different things. You just gotta like
Find it and be very, very careful.
And it helps if you have someone sighted sort of guiding you. Either like going ahead of you or
I'd be very slow. Just saying, if I did it with you guys.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
It was funny. We went there was this little girl. I don't remember how old she was, maybe like 12 or something. But she was like super concerned about Andrew and me. She was like, "Are you okay, Andrew?
Oh,
Are you
no.
okay?" Just like every 30 seconds, like, "Are you okay? Watch out for the rock. Are you okay?" It was awesome. Yeah.
What is
Yeah.
your fear,
No.
Francesco?
Her name was Desmond, by the way, the best camping partner
Huh.
ever.
He's ignoring my question.
No, it's fine. So let's see, my fear. So it's funny. So when I was thinking about this earlier, I was trying to brainstorm what my fear was. And what did the two of you say?
First, Simon was like, wasn't it? What did you say, Simon?
Oh.
Simon
failure.
said, okay, Simon said fear failure. Melissa, what did
And
you
you
say?
were brainstorming some more, and you're like, I don't know if and I'm like, wait, isn't it to be average?
To be average, fear of being average. So, okay, I feel like both of those have sort of like roots. I'm not, so I don't want to be average. Not for this. I mean, who does? Well, I shouldn't say who does. Some people do. Yeah, okay, some people do. But that I wouldn't say that's a fear. It's just like I just don't want to be because it would have meant. So I don't want to be average, not because I don't like being average, but because it would have meant that me as a person who likes to sort of like excel at things I do, it would have meant that I would have failed in excelling. So it's not the fact of being average that I don't like. It's the fact that I would have failed at excelling and in what in something that I was trying to do well at. So I would say my biggest fear is not necessarily being average. Fear of failure. I used to be fear. I definitely used to have a fear of failure, especially like in high school. I would be very like afraid of. I mean, what it sounds like failure or or not succeeding because I thought like failure was like the end, But then I recognized that failure was a very necessary part of improving and learning, and so I sort of broke that fear.
I have a question for you.
Well, yeah.
So when you were in high school, right? So I was afraid of failing, but my motivation behind failure in school and not getting good grades was then having to do with your parents punishing you or things like that. What was you like? Did you have that? I feel like a lot of people, a lot of kids especially, their motivation of fear or where their fear comes from could also be
Like repercussions from.
Yeah.
It's not even your own.
It's not even your own, but it's more like what will this person,
No TV.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. My fear of failure in high school stemmed from the knowledge that, or the thought that if I had failed, it means like I wasn't good at it.
Oh.
It's like, it's revealing. If you
Gotcha.
fail, you can't say that you are good at something because you failed, clearly.
Right.
Like that was my logic.
That's
what I did.
Yeah, and I mean, I've definitely had that.
Was there any social influence there, or purely like motivational?
No, because most of the times I failed, it was in like no one else. I mean, it wasn't like a secret, but it was definitely like I had the most to lose in those situations. Whether I don't know whether it was like music or athletics or I don't know. I mean, I never like failed. Did I ever fail a high school class? I don't remember. I feel like no, but I feel like that'd be a good story if I had. But I don't know. But like I don't know, like get like a poor grade on a test or something, right?
Yeah.
It was the idea that, or like not being able to play a particularly hard line on a guitar solo or something like that. I had the most to lose, but I hated the failure because it was like, oh, I'm not good enough to do it. So it was.
It's kind of,
you know what I mean?
It's kind of sad that like when I think back, my fears in my childhood were more about repercussions. Yours were more internal.
Well, it has nothing to do with. I wouldn't think of it as sad or not. Just recognize it for what it is and just learn from it. And
yeah, I mean, which I have now, but still.
Yeah. But anyway, so I would say the biggest fear. See, I had it in my head. Now I forgot it. Ramble more, Simon. Ramble. Do a little.
I don't
Simon.
know. Yes. I
Fears. What was I thinking? Fear of failure. I mean, how big of a fear can it be if I'm like forgetting it, right? No, okay, no, I remember what I was saying. So I would say it's a fear of not, and it's funny because this sort of evolved from that high school fear of failure, and it's basically the fear of knowing that there was more to life than I like got out of it. So basically the idea of like living life to the fullest, like no regrets, not missing something that I could have done, basically like living it to the fullest extent possible. And I think that directly came from the fear of failure in high school, because the way that I got over that, again, it was like I recognized that failing was a very necessary part of learning, right? If you don't do something in the first place, you're not going to know if you fail at it or succeed at it, therefore you won't learn, right? So I developed a mentality that like I just need to go for whatever it is. And if I fail from it, or if I fail at it once, then I learn from it and do better next time. And if I don't fail, then I still learn. And but the whole idea of just like just go for it, right? The whole Nike, the Nike motto of just do it, right? It basically just like that, like just go for it. Like who cares? If you lose, you lose. If you fail, you fail. Just go for it. So that sort of morphed into like from a fear of failure, it morphed into, I guess, a need. I wouldn't even call it a fear, but it's a need to know that like zero regrets, just everything.
I will say that I didn't have that fear until the whole like living life to the fullest. I didn't have that until pandemic hit. And then I was like, well, I think that's with everyone probably. I don't know. Maybe it's not just me, but like I tell myself once things go back to normal, if that's such a thing, I'll definitely do the stuff that I questioned before and not think about it. Obviously, do them with logic, but.
See, I think that's I think living life in general in a state where you do not regret your decisions in the future, I think is good in general.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's necessarily relegated to a certain time period. Like, just because it's pandemic now does not mean we cannot live that way.
Well, yeah, but then you got to think about the things we're not able to do, and you got to think that.
But then you don't regret it in the future because you know you weren't able to do it.
Yeah, but
there's so many other things we could be doing now that we have the choice of to do or not to do, and in the future we could regret it.
Right.
Well, I could very well be like, oh, it's pandemic, so I'm just gonna
stay home and do
chill.
nothing. Well, because you have the time, right? And I'm not doing that right now. But like, what I'm saying is, but you could still think of the past and pre-pandemic and what you didn't do and what you could have done.
But I wouldn't spend time regretting it. You know, like you're turning over a new leaf.
Unless it's
just
something
figure out
that you can't. I mean,
if it's something like a concert, then obviously concerts are not happening now.
Right.
So, you can't do that. But I don't know, like what are things that you regret not doing in the past?
Well, actually, the funny you said it's concerts.
Or even regret doing in the past.
Okay. Well, let's see. Remember there was a concert I really wanted to see. It was right pre-pandemic. It was right in December. I didn't go see it. And like, I should have just spent that extra money and went to see it. And then obviously, okay, I want to say jiu-jitsu, but I can't say that because as much as I wanted to do it, I didn't have the money for it. And if you don't have the money for it, then...
But then that's not even up to the
so then,
pandemic.
hold on, sorry. Then why would you go to the concert that costs a ton of money if you don't have the money for something like
because
jiu-jitsu?
It's easier to spend like, let's say $200 something on a concert once than it is just jiu-jitsu is a lot more because it's not just it may be like $200 a month, but that month is continuous, so you're constant.
But also, aren't these things, I mean, depending on the concert, I guess, but aren't most of these things that you can do once we do hopefully go back to being able to...
I think that's what he's saying, that once we do go back, he's going to do all them. Yeah.
But
no,
I will say,
go ahead.
Because I really want to do jiu-jitsu, this pandemic is giving me a chance to save up for it. So,
yeah, no, that's definitely true. I mean, I think it's two sides of it, right? It's doing, and there's always a balance, right? You can say like, oh, live lives with no regrets, therefore I will not save anything or put anything away for the future. I'm just going to live in the moment, blow all my money because who knows if I'll die tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's also that way of looking at it, which I don't think is a smart way to look at it. So there's always a balance. But within the balance, like once you establish the balance, I think there is the idea of do the things that you what have you regretted not doing in the past? Right? Something like concerts or jiu-jitsu for you, Simon. Yeah. But then there's also the stuff like, what did I do that I do regret?
Yeah.
Maybe like I made a poor decision with something, or maybe like someone or a situation. Maybe I did go somewhere that I maybe shouldn't have, or so I think there's both sides to it.
Actually, yeah.
Right? But either way,
I'm kind of glad. Like I'm thinking about it, and like I can't find any regrets that I did do. I just have stuff I didn't do, which I guess is good.
Yeah, that's good.
Right, so
yeah. So, and I mean, I think it's a very self-assuring way to be in existence.
Yeah.
When you can again, it's not like a thing of being ignorant and like ignoring the past, right? Like knowing that you have, to your fullest possible ability, examined every single part of your past, and you being able to tell yourself, there is nothing about this that I regret. Like that's a very, very powerful way to exist, I think.
Right.
I think people either look at, people either like go through life regretting a whole bunch of stuff and do nothing about it, or they go through life not regretting a bunch of stuff, but that's basically because they don't bother examining their past, so they just kind of ignore it,
and then it just kind of
and so they don't regret it because and then there's people who do examine their past and do recognize the things they regret, and then they do examine their past and there's nothing to regret. You know what I mean?
Right. And I definitely don't want to be one of the, I don't want to be 60 in the future and then look back and say, oh, I have so many regrets. And yeah, I know a person.
Right. And I think it's kind of not popular, but it happens sometimes where like you get these people who grow up, and it could either be like a midlife crisis, or people like they hit 30 all of a sudden, or they hit 40 or 50, or these big like, monumental age milestones. and they look back and like, oh my God, like all of a sudden it's like all these things I didn't do.
Yeah.
I feel part of that. Well, part of it is like the stereotype of the big age, right? Nothing changes between the year 29 and 364 days, and then the last day that makes you into 30, right?
Yeah.
Nothing actually changes about you, but it's this whole psychological thing. So partially it's a whole psychological thing, but also partially I feel like it's because most people don't go through life actually thinking about the big picture and actually thinking, are these big picture things, like, are these things that I'm doing fitting in with my big picture? Like, am I actually regretting all these things? Like analyzing yourself.
Right.
You know what sometimes I'll think about too is like, I think I'm already at an age where it's more common to see people my age like being celebrities and influencers and stuff, you know, famous actors, singers, which maybe as kids too, but I feel like the people you see on TV more often are, you know, either young adults playing teenagers or young adults or, you know, whatever. And so it's like we all started from the same place. But they're, how do I say this? Like, you know, they've accomplished so much, and it's not like I couldn't do that. I mean, maybe not, but I there's something about the same age that makes me think they don't have any more, you know, not privilege, but like, it's not like, oh, they had more time. No, it's not like, oh, well, if they're older, they had more time to hone their craft to be this famous. But if they're the same age, then it has to be in the things that we chose to do with our lives. I think I lost the point where I was trying to make, but I guess that's kind of an illustration of, well, look, maybe if you don't want this stark contrast between you and this other person who was trying hard to, well, most likely to do what they were doing, then, you know, go out and do something.
I think that's a very good point. And so we talked about what our fears were. Now let's talk a little bit about how we actually work on our fears, right? Like, we identified what they were. How do we actually better ourselves to handle them, right? And as a small caveat before we get into it, I did absolutely zero research into this subject. I just kind of thought about it and kind of put together a two-step. I mean, I came up with 2 steps, and you guys tell me what you guys think about this. But basically, I think step 1 easily is figure out why the fear is illogical, or why it doesn't make sense for you to have that fear, or if it does make sense to have the fear, right? Like, figure out what it is. So for me, and the whole purpose of this exercise is just to get a little bit of an objectivity, right? If you're afraid of, I don't know, well, we'll work on you guys' things in a second. So for my fear, the whole thing of making sure that, like, I don't have any regrets, realizing like, okay, this is like, it's something that will benefit my life to work on, right? So like identifying that first. This is the step 1. What about for you guys? Say, Melissa, your fear of isolation. I guess it's like getting some objectivity, right? So I would say, first of all, like, is this is this something to be afraid of?
I mean,
logically,
I probably don't think so, because I mean, I do have people, you know, it's not like I don't have like friends or family or something, like, you know, I'll get into disagreements or something, but I don't see everyone dropping dead, you know, right away, or
yeah.
So I'm sure there is going to be like moments of whatever, but it's not like I actually don't have people. So.
Right. And I think part of this exercise of being objective is being able to figure out, like, being able to articulate why something could be, like, what are parts of something that is logical and what are parts that are illogical, right? So the illogical part, like you said, is like the chance of everyone just going away all of a sudden is probably pretty slim, right? And plus, like, there's a lot of people around you, right? Family and friends and all that stuff. That's the illogical part. But logically, I mean, it is a valid concern that a lot of humans are faced with, right? The whole like isolation thing. So like I think recognize like giving yourself permission to recognize it as a valid fear or just a valid concern, right? Like this is a normal thing. Like accepting it. I think acceptance is a big part of it. If that makes sense, you know. So like, I mean, again with my example, regrets. I think like I laid out why it's like I laid out one side of it, but the other side is, yeah, like if I had a whole bunch of regrets, that's not a healthy way to go through life. So the logical part about the fear is, you know, hey, maybe it is something to be afraid of if I had a whole bunch of regrets at the end of my life. Like I don't want to be that way, you know? So I think it's being able to articulate both sides of it too, just having that objectivity. So Simon, let's add a little objectivity to your 3 fears.
Sure.
What's logical/illogical about, let's say, the first one? You jumping out of an airplane and worried about equipment malfunction.
Logical is about me dying. So I feel like it's a logical fear.
No. But I'm saying, like, logically, right? Okay, for example, like, logically, most times people jump out of planes, the equipment does not fail.
Oh.
Right? Logically, it makes sense.
Oh, I see.
You can look at statistics, like 99.99% of the time, when someone jumps out of a plane, everything goes well.
Right.
Right? If it didn't, there would be no skydiving. Right? Like, logically, it totally is safe. But even from a non-logical perspective, there's always a chance that it won't. And I think just like with Melissa, recognizing that, that is a valid concern, even if it's a very small one.
But it's also important to recognize, I feel, that same goes for anything else you do. Crossing the street. I'm still scared of crossing the street, honestly, but I still do it. And
the funny you say that, and we're going to get to that in a second, but that's actually my second step.
Because
anyway, continue.
Every time and it's funny, it wasn't a thing before. I never thought about it until something happened. Oh well, and then now every time I cross the street, I turn my head from side to side just to make sure that there are no cars trying to turn in front of me. Because I myself have almost gotten ran over by turning cabs or cars. And so it's always a thought in my head, will I make it? Will I make it? Will I make it? So.
Yeah, precisely. Okay. Your second fear?
Losing someone.
Yeah. Logical. I guess similar to Melissa's, right?
Yeah. I mean, logically, it's kind of hard. Logically, I will come across a time where I will lose someone. Because people die. And
this is the second time that you're being very, like, dying. People die. It's fine.
And the illogical part, I don't know. Help me out here. Not sure.
Maybe it's something you need to do a little reflecting on, Simon.
Maybe.
I mean, the number illogical. I mean, yes. Okay. Firstly, accepting that is a logical fear.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like you just said, everyone dies eventually.
Right.
But the illogical part is, I would say, fearing either the frequency, as in people can only die once.
Right.
And that kind of sounds crass to say,
or the
but
aftermath.
like how many people. Well, first of all, I would say, how many people around you would you be very hurt if they died?
Right.
Right. And just understanding the bigger picture, right? Like if and obviously it sucks if someone close to you dies, but then if they had an amazing life and if they had themselves had absolutely no regrets and they were like happy, they're like, I did everything I needed to do. Like, I don't know, I think there's a difference between grieving and fearing it.
You know, it's funny you say that.
You can be super sad. Let me just say it's one thing. You can be super, super sad, completely like in grieving, mourning, like bummed out, whatever, if someone close to you dies. You can be all those things, but also not fear it, right? I think fear is a totally different thing.
Right.
Go ahead.
It's funny you say that because like I do have different perspectives on that too. And that perspective is a young person versus an old person. You know, for example, if my I don't know if I want to get it, but if someone I know, she's like 70 something years old or 80 or whatnot. And, if something happened to her, God forbid, I'll be sad, but I wouldn't be angry or like, I wouldn't really grieve because first of all, I know that person wouldn't want me to be grieving. Second of all, I look at it as, look, she lived a long life. She had kids. She did this. She did that. So,
well, I don't know if you should not allow yourself a period to grieve. I don't know if you can say.
I think Simon meant he wouldn't be like angry.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
Okay.
I don't think you meant you wouldn't be sad.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Go on.
And so it's all in that perspective versus, if someone who has so much more ahead of them just boom gets shot or I don't know falls and something.
Yeah, just die somehow. Yeah.
It's a different outlook.
That's true. No, that's valid.
Like
distinction.
Yeah. And again, also like someone having cancer versus not. I feel like the most, if anything did ever happen to someone, the most I would be angry about and probably would never find peace in is someone getting killed. And I mean killed by like either murder or
like violent
crime or a stupid accident.
Either like an accident,
Yeah.
Those are dumb.
So
that's fair.
that I wouldn't find peace. But I could find peace in like cancer, in like a natural cause, like cancer or something, or
cancer is a natural cause.
or I mean, isn't it? Wouldn't you say it's a natural?
No.
Oh, so
I wouldn't say so. Dying of old age, I say natural causes.
So you're saying that people can control whether or not they have cancer?
I'm saying that's a medical, like a disease.
Oh, medical.
Or,
medical cause. Sorry. Then yeah, that I can.
I mean, I put that in the same category as someone getting COVID and dying from that.
Yeah.
It's a disease. It's a virus. But so that's your second one. What's your third one?
Drowning.
Yes.
But then
logical and illogical.
See, okay. Logically, I know how to swim, right? So I know that logically, if there aren't huge waves and I know how to swim, I shouldn't drown. So there's no reason why I should be holding on to anyone in the middle of the ocean and, drowning. I know that if I were something to happen, then I trust the people who I'm around, they help out. So that's that. And then again, I have trouble with the illogical part, but I guess the illogical part in me is just can't stop thinking of the bottom of the ocean or just the feeling
sinking to the bottom.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I mean, and again, like we talked about logically, that is something to be concerned about because people drown all the time, right?
Yes.
I mean, not like on every beach, but in the world, I'm sure there are multiple people who drown every day.
Which I should do my research as to how they drown. Do they not know how to swim? Were the waves too high?
I'm pretty sure it's a mixture of all the above. People drown. But the illogical part is like, what are the chances on a calm beach day with a whole bunch of people and a bunch of lifeguards and people around you? What are the chances that you yourself are going to drown?
Right.
So I mean that's cool. So okay, we were able to get a little bit of objectivity on our fears. The second half of the equation that I sort of thought about is the way that I have in the past gotten over my fears and sort of associate with other people getting over their fears is, first of all, again, getting that objectivity, but second of all, making very small, methodical, incremental advances towards acquainting yourself with your fear, right? So a very, very simple example would be if your fear is public speaking, part one would be getting objectivity, right? Like logically and illogically, what does that fear mean to you? And then the second part of that would be making methodical. Now let's break it down, right? Methodical, incremental advances. Methodical meaning you do this on a regular basis, right? It's not just like, what?
A goal. No?
No, but like on a scheduled basis. You do it methodically. So like on a weekly basis, instead of like, you do it one day and then you let like a month go by and then you let a couple weeks, and then maybe like 3 months. Like schedule it, right? Methodically, say once a week, you make advances towards acquainting yourself with the fear of public speaking, right? So incremental, which was the second word after methodical, would be small steps. And the fear would be speaking in front of people. So every week, an example of this public speaking example, every week you would force yourself to speak in front of a slightly larger crowd, right? And it's the whole idea of starting small, slowly working yourself big, right? If one day you give like your buddy a little mini presentation on a Nat Geo documentary that you saw over the weekend, next week you give it to like 5 people and then 10 people and 15 people, you just like, or even slower if your fear requires you to move slower. But the point is you make this like small incremental gains towards making yourself feel comfortable. And that's why, Simon, when you were talking about crossing streets, it's like the first time any of us crossed the street, whether we were like blindfolded or as a totally blind person, whatever, I'm sure it was like kind of a scary thing, right? It's like, holy shit, like what's going on? But the 2000th time that we crossed the street or the 20,000th time, I'm sure like right now, there are definitely streets that I kind of question sometimes.
Yeah.
But most of the streets I cross right now, I'm obviously I'm aware. I, use all my skills and my cues and make sure I don't get run over, but I'm not fearful of every single crossing I do.
Yes, right? But I also take into the account. But okay, the reason I'm fearful of that actually is because I have a tendency to veer, and when it's daylight, I'll like sometimes use the lines to guide me and stuff, the lines on the floor, and but sometimes I don't see it. Your lines. And so I'm afraid that I'm veering a little to traffic.
Yes, but you have definitely crossed streets when you were with me and haven't even thought twice about it. You just like went across.
Yeah, I know. And I wonder if that just comes and goes. Because...
Well, but regardless, I'm not saying you'll never feel that fear again, because sometimes, you're trying to like cross a massive intersection with a whole bunch of traffic. You're going to be a little concerned, right? But in general, right now, you probably have a lot less fear than you did the first couple times you try to do it in your life on your own.
Yeah.
Wow.
Right? Unless you literally didn't know anything.
Right.
Logically, you would have a lot more fear the first time you did it.
Yes, but I'm still always in my head.
Please excuse the corny segue, but I'm going to feel fear if I don't get off this call and join my class.
Ah, Melissa has class again. Yeah. What episode did you have class?
I don't remember.
Flying and
a few episodes ago, Melissa had to go to that. Anyway, that's totally fine. I mean, we're basically wrapping up. You can go, Melissa, if you need to, but
bye.
Bye. So yes, this is a very good discussion on fear and basically just making an incremental advancement towards acquainting yourself, right? So maybe let's talk about your 3 fears, Simon, real quick. And maybe talk about like how you would make incremental, for example, like say swimming, right?
Right.
I would imagine that a very logical way to do that is, okay, like last time I went to the beach, you basically like were with someone the entire time, right? So maybe starting with like a minute of not having them around you.
Right.
And then going to 2 minutes and then 3 minutes and 4, just like slowly every time we visit, just slowly increasing that slowly, Yeah. I think that makes sense from like a physical fear perspective, and I'd say from like a mental fear perspective, for example, like the one without like not wanting any regrets. Obviously, it's a different example. The way I would handle that, and give me your thoughts, Simon, in a minute. But the way I would handle getting yourself more acquainted with that fear is just making it a practice to make decisions that you would not, like that are long-term serving, not short-term serving, right? So like the ones that you're not going to regret. So like, I don't know, if you, whatever it is, like if there's a type of decision that you end up regretting in the future, I don't know, maybe it's like ordering takeout or like ordering fast food or something 3 times a week. So if that's something you regret in the long term, I don't know why. I mean, it's totally just an example, right? But if say that's your long-term regret, then just incrementally, methodically lowering that on a regular basis until it's something that you don't regret, you know?
Right.
Or like spending more time with someone that you know you should be spending more time with, or,
yes.
you know, going out and experiencing more of the world than just making it a habit to like once a year, you go on a little excursion, a little road trip, and then maybe twice a year. And it doesn't always have to be about money. You can like rent a car and do it on the cheap. That's not the point. You get what I mean? All right. What are your thoughts?
No, I think that's something definitely to think about and practice over time.
Yeah. I mean, I think anything, even like something completely abstract, a fear that's abstract, you can find a way to like kind of give yourself exposure.
Yeah.
Right.
Definitely.
I mean, okay, like for example, your second one about losing someone, you're not going to go murder someone just so that you can get exposure to it, right? Like you're going to make a list of your friends and list them in order of closeness to like acquaintance.
Right.
And then you start like murdering the acquaintances first and seeing if you have fear, and then you start like going up the list towards the people close to you. Like you're probably not going to do that unless you're a serial killer. Anyway, but a good way to get exposure is just maybe have a very objective, deep thought in your head and try to figure out what am I actually fearful of, and then just trying to address those specific things, right? Maybe like the deep-seated fear is not actually that you're going to lose them. Maybe the deep-seated fear is that you're not going to have them in your life to do certain things for you or something. You know, I'm not saying that is your reason, but just there might be underlying reasons that lead to that fear, you know?
Maybe, yeah.
So, I mean, we usually have fears because they're based on something.
Right, makes sense.
So just figuring out what those things are. But anyway, that's a pretty cool thing. That's all I got for today.
Yes.
You got any closing thoughts?
No.
Can you believe this is episode 20,
I know,
Simon?
it's crazy.
20. That's pretty crazy.
And then we'll be on 25 soon.
Oh, geez. That's way too soon. Cool. All right. Well, hit us up on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter @RunWithChestnut. Give us a comment or a tweet or a DM or anything. Let us know if you have any topic requests for the future. Leave us a 5-star rating and review on iTunes or anywhere else you listen to our podcast. And that's about it. Yep. Melissa had to dip out a little early because she is actually still, well, Simon, you're still a student, but you don't have class in the evening. Melissa has class in the evening. So for Melissa and Simon, my name is Francesco, and we will catch y'all later. Goodbye.